Hello and welcome everyone to the third installment of Competitive Eating Weekly. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Let's jump right into the news for the week. There wasn't too much going on this week. There is kind of a dry spell right now for competitive eating news, mainly because a lot of the YouTube competitive eaters are less active right now for some reason, and the MLE season is over for the calendar year. So we're gonna have to basically wait till next year in February when the, I believe birthday cake is the first contest usually of the year. There may be one in January this year, but I do not know that for sure. But despite there being a dry spell in the competitive eating world, there is plenty still to talk about. I want to kick off this episode to talk about what should have been but didn't happen this year. Foxwoods recently in the last couple of years was a huge contest. All the best eaters went to Foxwoods. This was a turkey eating contest held in November prior to Thanksgiving. For some reason they canceled the contest for this year. Foxwoods recently tweeted on Twitter that they were not going to have a contest this year. We are not at this time, so sorry. We will have plenty of other exciting options to have fun at Foxwoods, however. So they're not having their turkey eating contest this year, which is a huge letdown. A lot of eaters are looking forward to this contest. I know Gideon talked to me about it and how they're not having it, and he was really bummed out about that, and I'm sure a lot of other eaters were bummed out about it as well. Foxwoods had a huge payout. The first place prize, I believe, was either $5,000 or $10,000, so it was huge payout there. And yeah, that's one of the biggest eating contests of the year, just scrapped for no reason. There's no official statement saying why they didn't renew it. It was probably just a contract thing with MLE. They didn't want to pay a certain amount of money to have them to sponsor the event. Most likely, that's usually what it comes down to, money. All the funding and how they have to get the contest sponsored, and they have to have vendors and all this stuff, and they probably didn't want to get involved in all that this year. The cost benefit wasn't likely too much in their favor, so they decided to scrap it. Hopefully next year they have more funding for this and they decide to get MLE to throw the contest again, because that is a huge contest, I know, for a lot of eaters, and that's just a bummer. It's a bummer that there was no Foxwoods this year. Sucks, but there's always next year. Maybe it'll come back. Fingers crossed. So our next story is an interesting development. So LA Beast recently tweeted that he's packing up to move east. Now, what does east mean? I don't know if he's moving to the East Coast or he's moving more east, because right now he does currently reside in Los Angeles, California. So my theory personally, he grew up in New Jersey, so I think he's either going back to New Jersey or New York, because he did go to high school in New York. So either New Jersey or New York would be my best guess, to be close to home where he grew up, maybe to see his family, be close to them. But that's my best theory as of right now, why he'd be moving east. I don't really know, maybe that whole walk across America thing, I don't know what the status is with that, but maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. He's been moving a lot recently, and this is not like completely unexpected, but at the same time, it kind of does pose a question, like, where is he moving to? So next I want to talk about the Bierhaus bratwurst eating contest. So this was an all-pro eating event. It was an independent eating event with Molly Schuyler, Bob Shaw, Dave Brunelli, Wayne Algenio, all these big-time independent eaters were in this event, and Molly Schuyler took it. She destroyed the competition as usual. Here's her posing with the trophy that she won from the contest. So there was actually a video I was able to find on the Facebook page of Bierhaus for the actual contest, and those brats were big, juicy brats. These were not your mother's brats. These brats were huge, they were fat, they seemed really hard to swallow and get down your gullet, and I really do think 46, now that I see what the brats actually looked like and how much thicker they were than if you were to compare them to the recent MLE contest, these brats were way fatter, thicker, juicier, and they seemed a lot harder to get down. Even Molly seemed like she was struggling throughout the contest to get these brats down. Okay, so Molly won with 46.5 brats. Bob Shout got second place with 29.5. That's a huge margin gap between first and second. 17 brat difference. That's pretty crazy, actually. But I mean, Molly, she's known for blowing away the competition anyway, so it's not too surprising, I suppose. But yeah, 17 of those big, fat, juicy, meaty brats, more for Molly Schuyler. That's crazy. Great job, Molly. Another amazing performance from you. And third place was Dave Brunelli with 26.5. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about in this week's edition is going to be Darron Eats' latest video. So if you guys don't know Darron Eats, he is a casual competitive eater. He does have a huge capacity, but right now I talked to him, he said he wants to take things slow, doesn't want to jump into any contracts with MLE or anything. He did a Nathan's qualifier in 8:28, but unfortunately wasn't enough to qualify him. But he does have a YouTube channel. He does food challenges and stuff like that, and occasional independent contests, I believe. But he recently tried to do an 8-pound burrito after eating a 5-pound Philly cheesesteak that same day.
Now, when I first tried this a few weeks ago, I did this after I tried taking on the mistake challenge over at South Street Steaks, and that was a 5-pound Philly cheesesteak. So I had 5 pounds of Philly cheesesteak sitting in my stomach.
So if you guys didn't know, 2 food challenges in one day. I think Randy Santel does this. A lot of the really good eaters do this because you've got all that food digesting in your stomach already, and there's really not much room to add more to that. So if you're gonna take on an 8-pound challenge the same day as a 5-pound Philly cheesesteak is very dense and I'm sure very filling, and if it sits in your stomach for hours, it's gonna absorb all that water and make it even more difficult. And he got through a solid 2/3 of this 8-pound burrito before throwing in the towel. So roughly he had about 11 to 12 pounds of actual food in him, and I'm sure another 3 to 4 pounds of liquid on top of that, and I'm sure he was extremely stuffed after this. But that's crazy that he was able to get that much of that burrito down. I don't know if he expected to beat that challenge. It seemed like it would have been something only big time competitive eaters like Matt Stoney or Mickey Suter or those kind of people would be capable of doing something like that. But he did go back a few weeks later and he destroyed it. He casually finished the 8-pound burrito in 25 minutes approximately.
Alright, stop the timer. Took me a little over 25 minutes to beat this thing. Very, very delicious challenge.
And that's just crazy to show like how much of a handicap he gave himself going into that, and he still almost finished it, and then he went back and just destroyed it. He has great content, he's an amazing eater, and I definitely think he's going to be a future star of the sport. Okay everyone, that's all I have for this edition. Thank you so much for watching the video, taking the time out of your day to watch. Leave a like. Let's try to get to 40 likes on this video. I would greatly appreciate that. Thanks so much everyone, and I'll see you in the next edition of Competitive Eating Weekly.